Okay, I want to continue. This is Dr. Della Welch. We were talking about the intentional torts to the person, and we described battery, assault, false imprisonment, and intentional infliction of mental distress. I'll call it BAFI, and those are torts to person. So let's take a little example. John slapped Jim at the restaurant. Is this a battery? Yes, it appears that John did touch Jim, and so there is the touching. And is it an assault? Did Jim see John coming to slap him? If there was an awareness of an immediate slapping, then there would be an assault. And in looking at F, false imprisonment, it's important to know that there is a shopkeeper's privilege. If someone is a merchant, he or she is allowed to stop, to detain, and investigate suspected shoplifters without being held liable for false imprisonment if there are some reasonable grounds for suspicion that that person has taken something and the person is conducting the investigation in a reasonable manner, and then the time has to be a reasonable time, and the law has said about 20 minutes would be a reasonable time. And then we talked about I, intentional infliction of mental distress. And remember, it has to be an extreme and outrageous act. Now, let's look at torts to property. The mnemonic is TCC. So T is trespass to land, and that is the unlawful entry on land in the possession of another. C is trespass to chattel, or trespass to personal property. That is a minor interference with the personal property of another. Let's say that you bring a straw hat to class, and let's say that I push the straw hat in the top and I make just a little indent and you can poke it right back. Well, that was just a minor little interference. But let's say that I hate straw hats and I see your straw hat on the table and I rip it up. Well, that would be a conversion. That's beyond a trespass to chattel. That is a substantial interference with the property of another. That's like a taking or a larceny. So suppose you bring your dog to school, and I don't like dogs, and I shoot the dog. The dog is your personal property. That would be a conversion of the dog. So in criminal, it would be larceny, and then you can also sue me in tort for conversion. So that would be our torts to property. Now we have some reputation injuries. That's often called defamation, which would be false statements communicated to another. There are two types. Libel, L-I-B-E-L, would be written false statements. I always say write ends with E, W-R-I-T-E, so you take that E and put it into libel, L-I-B-E-L. And that is an easy way to remember libel. Now, spoken false statements are called slander. What I have my class do is go, slander is spoken false statement, and think of the S sound. So truth is a complete defense. Now there's what they call like defamation per se. That would be accusing someone of a loathsome disease, a terrible disease, such as AIDS. That's slander per se, where you don't have to prove damages. So also, if you make false statements about another that injures their profession, such as you say, this doctor is a butcher, and that statement is false, and it injures his profession, then that is called defamation per se. So that is important to know. Torts to property, torts to person, and then reputation injuries. If there is someone who is a famous movie star, such as there's a famous case about Carol Burnett, where the Inquirer, you may pronounce it that way, claims that she was drunk and eating out of Henry Kissinger's bowl. Well, the reporter knew this statement was false and printed it anyway. The court said that is malice. She wiped her tears on a check for $900,000. So this was many years ago when $900,000 was a lot of money. But the press, if they know it's false and they print it anyway, that is malice. And so movie stars are treated, and public figures are treated a little bit differently than the general public. Now we want to look at carelessness, or we want to look at negligence. Okay, under negligence, first of all, we say there has to be a duty. The duty, there's a general duty rule, to act as a reasonable person and not expose others to unreasonable, foreseeable risk of harm. And then there's special duty rules, such as a child has to act like a child of like age, intelligence, and experience. And then medical doctors, if they are specialists, they are held to a national standard. So you have to know about the duty, and then there's what we call breach, and there's a term, res ipsa loquitur, which means the thing speaks for itself, and that may establish the duty and the breach. So we'll be completing the causation, actual and proximate, and damages and defenses on our next lecture that we'll be doing. So make sure you